stop. Before you do anything else today, stop memorizing grammar rules that you will just forget by tomorrow morning. Seriously, if you are still sitting there staring at dry textbooks, circling verb forms, and color-coding syntax charts, I need you to hear this. You are actually slowing your brain down. You are working harder than you need to, and you are getting fewer results than you deserve.
And that is exactly what we are going to talk about today, because there is a better way, a smarter way, a way that does not require flashcards, grammar drills, or any of those thick, heavy workbooks that somehow always make you feel like English is impossible.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Lily, and this is Bruce.
Hey everyone, really glad you are here today.
And today, we are doing something special. We are giving you 5 daily habits, 5 real, practical, everyday habits that will help you automate your English grammar. Not memorize it, not study it, automate it so that it becomes part of how you think, how you speak, and how you feel in English.
And the most exciting part? None of these habits involve a textbook. Not one.
Now, I want you to stay with us through this entire video because each of these 5 habits builds on the one before it. If you jump to the end, you will miss the connections. And honestly, the habit we share at number 4, digital environment engineering, that one changed how I personally use my phone every single day. I will explain more in a moment.
But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever studied grammar for weeks, maybe even months? You knew the rule perfectly in your head, and then the moment someone asked you a question in real life, your mind went completely blank?
Yes, and that is not a memory problem. That is not an intelligence problem. That is a habit problem. Your brain learned the rule, but it never learned to use the rule automatically. There is a huge difference, and today we are going to fix that gap together.
So, let us dive in. Habit number 1 is called the narrative sportscast, and this one is going to surprise you.
Okay, Bruce, let me paint a picture for our listeners. Imagine a sports announcer. You know the kind, the ones you hear during a football match or a basketball game. They are talking constantly. They are describing everything that is happening in real time. He dribbles left. He passes to number 7. She shoots and she scores. They never stop. They never pause to think about grammar. They just flow.
Right, and that is exactly what Habit 1 is about. It is called the narrative sportscast because the idea is simple but incredibly powerful. You narrate your own physical movements in real time, just like a sports announcer, but the sport is your life.
So, what does that actually look like? Let me give you a real example. You wake up in the morning. Instead of staying silent or thinking in your first language, you say out loud or quietly in your head, I am getting out of bed. I am walking to the bathroom. I am turning on the water. The water is cold. I am waiting.
And here is what is happening in your brain when you do this. You are using first-person present tense, I am doing, over and over again. Not because someone told you to practice it, but because you need it to describe what is actually happening right now. Your grammar is serving a real purpose, and that changes everything.
Think about how children learn language. Nobody sits a 3-year-old down and says, okay, today we are going to study the present continuous tense. No. The child points at a dog and says, dog running. And a parent says, yes, the dog is running. And the child hears it, repeats it, and slowly, naturally, the correct pattern gets wired into their brain.
The narrative sportscast is the adult version of that. You are linking your muscles to your syntax. When your hand reaches for a cup of coffee, your voice, or your inner voice, says, I am picking up my coffee cup. Your body and your grammar are working together.
And here is why this is so different from a textbook exercise. In a textbook, you read a sentence. Maybe you fill in a blank, and then you move on. But your body was not involved. Your real life was not involved. The grammar stayed on the page.
With the narrative sportscast, there is no page. There is just you and your life. And every single action you take becomes a grammar exercise without feeling like one.
Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Lily, I am going to sound ridiculous talking to myself. And Bruce, tell them what you told me when I said the exact same thing.
I told you, every great language learner has a moment where they feel a little ridiculous, and then they get over it, because results matter more than looking cool in your own bathroom.
And he is right. The low-stakes nature of this habit is actually one of its greatest strengths. You are not being tested. Nobody is grading you. Nobody is listening. It is just you, bridging the gap between your internal thought and your external speech. And the more you do it, the smaller that gap becomes.
Let us talk about common mistakes with this habit. The biggest one we see is that people try to narrate perfectly. They pause, they second-guess themselves, they say, wait, is it I am walking or I walk? And then they give up.
Do not do that. The whole point of the narrative sportscast is flow, not accuracy. In the beginning, you will make mistakes. You might say, I am go to the kitchen, instead of I am going to the kitchen. That is fine, completely fine. The goal right now is to build the habit of narrating, not to be perfect. Accuracy will come naturally over time as your ear trains itself.
Think of it like learning to ride a bicycle. In the beginning, you wobble, you might fall, but you do not stop pedaling and sit down to study the physics of balance. You just keep going, and one day, you are riding without thinking.
That is exactly what happens with grammar when you use the narrative sportscast consistently. One day, the correct form just comes out, without effort, without thinking. That is the moment you have been working toward.
Here is a mini exercise for you right now. After this video, not in an hour, not tomorrow, after this video, go make a cup of tea or coffee, or just go wash your hands and narrate every single step. Say it out loud if you can, whisper if you have to, but say it.
And if you want to level up even faster, record yourself doing it, even on your phone, even for 30 seconds, because hearing your own voice is one of the fastest ways to notice patterns in how you speak. We will actually come back to this idea in Habit 2.
Which brings us to something really exciting, because Habit 2 takes the physical awareness you just built and adds something completely different: sound.
Okay, this habit is one of my personal favorites, and I think once you understand why it works, it'll become one of yours too. Habit 2 is called auditory shadowing cycles, and if you have never heard of auditory shadowing before, do not worry, we are going to explain it completely.
So here is the core idea. Auditory shadowing means you listen to a native English speaker and you repeat what they say, almost simultaneously, matching their rhythm, their speed, their tone, their emotion, not word by word, sound by sound, like an echo.
And the key word here is musicality. We are not focusing on the meaning of every word. We are not stopping to look things up in a dictionary. We are listening to the music of the language, the rise and fall of the voice, the places where it speeds up, the pauses, the energy.
And why does this matter for grammar? Because grammar is not just about rules. It is about rhythm. Native speakers do not think, I need to use the third conditional here. They feel it. The sentence sounds right, or it sounds wrong. That feeling, that musical sense, is what you are building with auditory shadowing.
Now, where do you find content for shadowing in 2026? Everywhere. Seriously, you are living in the best time in history to be a language learner. Short-form video content is everywhere. Podcasts, reels, clips, there is no shortage of authentic, natural English flowing through your devices every single day.
And the beautiful thing about short-form content is that it is perfect for shadowing cycles. Here is how the cycle works. You listen to a clip, maybe 20 seconds, maybe 45 seconds. You listen without repeating. Just absorb the rhythm. Then you listen again and you shadow. You repeat along with the speaker. Then you listen a third time on your own and notice how much closer your version feels to the original.
3 rounds. That is your cycle. Listen, shadow, compare, and then you move on to the next clip. You are not trying to memorize the words. You are trying to absorb the pattern.
Let me give you an example of how this sounds. Say a speaker says, "So I was just sitting there, completely lost, and then suddenly it all made sense." The grammar in that sentence is actually quite complex. Past continuous, 2 clauses, an adverb, a subject shift. But when you shadow it, you are not thinking about any of that. You are just following the sound.
And here is the magic. After you have shadowed that sentence 10 or 15 times across a few days, if someone asks you to describe a moment when you felt confused and then understood something, the structure will come to you naturally. So I was just sitting there, completely lost, and then your brain borrowed the pattern without you even realizing it.
This is called prosodic transfer. You are transferring the natural music, the prosody of the language into your own speech. And it is one of the fastest ways to sound more natural in English, even before you have a perfect understanding of every grammar rule.
Now, here is the part that takes it to the next level. And this connects back to what we said in Habit 1 about recording yourself. After your shadowing session, record yourself saying the same clip without the original playing, just you, and then play them side by side.
You don't need special equipment. Your phone is enough. But when you hear both versions together, your ear will catch things your brain missed. Maybe your stress is slightly off. Maybe you're pausing in the wrong place. Maybe your endings are dropping. You will hear it, and your brain will want to fix it.
That self-correction by ear is incredibly powerful. It is not someone else telling you what you did wrong. Your own ear is telling you. And that internal correction sticks much, much longer than an external correction ever could.
Most learners miss this next point, so pay attention. The goal of auditory shadowing is not perfection. It is calibration. You are calibrating your ear to native patterns. And calibration is a process. It takes time. But every single shadowing cycle moves you closer to automatic, instinctive English.
A common mistake people make is choosing content that is too advanced too quickly. If you are shadowing someone speaking very fast with a lot of slang and you are struggling to catch even one word, you are not learning. You are just feeling frustrated. Start with clear, moderate speed speech, a podcast host talking conversationally, a YouTube teacher, even an audiobook narrator. Clarity first. Speed comes later.
Another mistake is shadowing too long in one sitting. 20 minutes of focused shadowing is far more effective than 2 hours of distracted shadowing. Quality over quantity, always.
And if you are enjoying this lesson right now, which I hope you are, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We publish English learning content regularly, and every video is designed to help you grow naturally without boring textbooks or complicated drills. Your support means everything to us and helps us reach more learners around the world.
Also, if you want even more listening and speaking practice, check out our podcast playlist right here on this channel. You will find so many useful lessons designed specifically to help you improve your English in a natural, enjoyable way.
Okay, Now we have built physical awareness through the narrative sportscast, we have trained our ear through auditory shadowing cycles, and now we are going to bring all of that awareness to the page, but not in the way you think. Habit 3 is unlike any journaling you have probably done before.
Okay, Lily, before we dive into Habit 3, I want to ask our listener something. How many of you have tried keeping an English journal before? Maybe someone told you, write in English every day, and you tried for a few days, maybe a week, and then it felt like homework and you stopped.
Yes, that is so common, and I completely understand it because traditional journaling in a second language can feel very heavy. You sit down, you stare at a blank page, you try to write something meaningful, you make mistakes, you feel embarrassed, even though nobody is reading it, and eventually you give up.
Habit 3 solves all of those problems. It is called AI-assisted narrative journaling, and the difference between this and traditional journaling is both the format and the tool you use.
Let us start with the format. Instead of trying to write long, perfect diary entries, we are going to start with micro wins. What is a micro win? A micro win is a small, specific thing that went well in your day. Not today was good, that is too vague. But I ordered my lunch in English and the person understood me perfectly. That is a micro win. Specific, real, personal.
Now, here is where the journaling habit begins. Every day, at the end of the day, or during a quiet moment, you write down 3 micro wins as simple bullet points. In English, just bullet points. Do not worry about sentences yet, just the ideas.
Something like, finished my report before lunch, helped a colleague with a problem, went for a walk and felt really clear-headed.
3 bullets. That is it. That is your starting point. Now, and here is where the AI assistance comes in, you take those 3 bullet points and you use an AI writing assistant to help you expand them into full descriptive sentences.
And we are not doing this because we are lazy. We are doing it for a very specific reason. When you use an AI writing tool, and there are many good ones available in 2026, you can see how natural English patterns look when applied to your own ideas. You are not reading someone else's grammar example. You are reading a grammatically natural version of your own thoughts.
That is a completely different experience, and it teaches your brain in a completely different way.
So let us take that first bullet point. Finished my report before lunch. The AI might expand it to, I managed to finish my report a full hour before lunch, which gave me a moment to breathe and feel genuinely accomplished. And now look at what is in that sentence: a past tense, a time clause, a relative clause, an adverb of degree, and an infinitive. Multiple grammar structures in one natural sentence about your actual day.
And here is what you do next. You read that sentence, you read it out loud if you can, you notice how it flows. You pay attention to the structures, not analytically, not, oh, that is a relative clause, just, does it sound right? Does it feel right?
Then you try to write your own version of the second bullet point, using the AI version as a model, not to copy, but to feel the rhythm of it. And then you use the AI to check your version and compare.
Over time, and this is the part that is genuinely exciting, you will start to notice patterns in the way you write. Maybe you always forget articles. Maybe you always use very instead of more precise adjectives. Maybe your sentence structure is always simple when it could be more varied. These are patterns your subconscious mind is ready to fix because you will see them repeating across multiple journal entries.
And that is the review step. Once a week, go back and read your last 7 entries. Look for any errors that keep appearing. Not to punish yourself, not to rewrite everything, just to notice. Awareness is the first step to automatic correction.
Here is a tip for our intermediate learners especially. Once you are comfortable with the basic bullet-to-sentence expansion, try converting your bullet points into a short narrative story. So instead of 3 separate expanded sentences, you write a short paragraph where your 3 micro-wins are connected. I started the morning focused and managed to finish my report an hour before lunch. That gave me a little extra time, which I used to help a colleague who was stuck on a project. By the afternoon, I felt so clear-headed that I decided to go for a walk.
Do you see what happened there? The grammar is still natural, but now you are also practicing discourse, how to connect ideas, how to make one sentence flow into the next, how to tell a story, and that is a massive skill for fluency.
And the vocabulary growth that comes from this habit is remarkable. When you are writing about your own life, you have a personal reason to find the right word. You are not memorizing vocabulary from a list. You are finding words you actually need to describe your actual experience. Those words stick.
I want to share something here. A lot of learners tell us that they are afraid to write in English because they worry about making mistakes. And I completely understand that fear. But I want to say this clearly. Your journal is not a test. Nobody is grading it. Nobody is going to read it and judge you. It is a private space for you to explore language without pressure. And that pressure-free environment is exactly what your brain needs to take risks with new structures.
Stay with me here, because what comes next is something most learners have never even thought of. We have been talking about habits that involve your voice, your ear, and your writing. But habit 4 is about something completely different, your environment. And when I say environment, I mean digital environment.
Okay, this is the habit I mentioned at the very beginning, the one that personally changed how I use my phone. And honestly, once you understand the principle behind it, you will wonder why nobody told you sooner.
Habit 4 is called digital environment engineering, and the idea is this. Most of us spend hours every day on our phones, our tablets, our computers. We scroll, we browse, we read, we watch, we interact. And most of that interaction, if you are learning English, is probably happening in your first language.
Not because you chose it, but because your devices are set up that way. Your phone language is set to your native language, your social media feed is full of content in your native language, your apps, your notifications, your smart home commands, all in your native language. And that means every time you pick up your phone, you are choosing your first language by default without even realizing it.
Digital environment engineering means you deliberately redesign your digital world so that English is the default. Not an option, the default.
And let us start with the simplest step. Change the language setting on your primary device to English. If you have never done this before, it might feel strange for the first day or two. You will have to work a little harder to find things. But within a week, your brain will adapt. And that adaptation, that daily, low-level exposure to English in functional contexts, adds up enormously over time.
Think about what you are reading when your phone is in English. Settings menus, app descriptions, notification messages, calendar prompts. All of it is real, functional English, not textbook English, not example sentence English. Real English that real people designed to communicate real information. And you are absorbing it every time you use your...
The next step is your social media feed, and this one requires a little more intentional effort. The goal is to follow accounts, pages, and communities that post high-context visual content in English, content that you can understand partly from the image or video and partly from the English caption or description.
Why visual content specifically? Because visual content helps you understand meaning without relying on translation. If you see a beautiful photo of a forest and the caption says, "The morning fog settled softly between the trees, turning everything golden," you do not need to translate. You can see it, you can feel it, and you understand the English naturally.
And here is what that does for grammar. You are reading complex, beautiful English sentences, passive constructions, participial phrases, poetic structures in a completely natural setting, not a grammar book, your Instagram feed or your TikTok feed or wherever you spend time. And your brain registers those patterns without you consciously studying them.
But here is where habit 4 really levels up. It is not just about passive consumption. The most powerful part of digital environmental engineering is replacing passive scrolling with active interaction.
What do we mean by active interaction? We mean commenting, responding, participating. Find a community online, a Reddit thread, a Discord server, a Facebook group, a forum, where people are discussing topics you genuinely care about: sports, travel, technology, music, film, cooking, anything. But the community must be in English.
And then participate. Write a comment, ask a question, reply to someone's post. Even one comment a day is enough in the beginning. Because when you write something in public, even anonymously, there is a real audience. And that real audience activates a part of your brain that grammar drills never can.
You will naturally want to express yourself clearly. You will naturally want to be understood. And that desire, that communicative drive, is one of the most powerful forces for language learning that exists. You are not practicing English in theory. You are practicing English in reality.
And a common mistake here, I want to mention this because I see it a lot, is that people join these communities, but they only read. They never write. And reading is valuable, yes, but writing is where your grammar becomes active rather than passive. You need both.
Another step in engineering your digital environment is your smart home devices, if you have them. If you use a voice assistant, any kind, switch it to English. Start giving your commands in English. Turn off the lights. Set a timer for 10 minutes. What is the weather today? These are incredibly simple sentences, but you are speaking English in a functional, purposeful way, and that matters.
Now, you might be thinking, Bruce, this all sounds great, but my life is complicated. I cannot just switch everything to English overnight. And that is completely fair. You do not have to do everything at once. Start with one thing, just your phone language, or just one social media platform, one step at a time. The point is to shift the ratio, more English, less first language, every single day.
And here is an interesting thing that happens when you engineer your digital environment. You start to feel English around you, not as a foreign language you are studying, but as part of your everyday world. And that shift in identity, from someone who is studying English to someone who lives in English, is one of the most powerful accelerators of fluency we know of.
We have one more habit to share with you. And I want you to know, habit 5 is different from everything we have talked about so far. The first 4 habits are about input and practice. Habit 5 is about output and trust. Trusting yourself, trusting your brain, and learning to let go.
Okay, habit 5, the instinctive reflex audit. And I love this habit because it is probably the most different from anything you have been told about learning English before.
Most English learning advice tells you to check your grammar carefully. Think before you speak. Make sure you have the right tense, the right preposition, the right article. And in the early stages, that careful checking has its place. But at a certain point, and this is what most teachers do not tell you, that checking habit becomes a barrier.
When you are constantly stopping to check your own grammar, you introduce a delay, a hesitation, a gap between the thought and the word. And that gap is what makes non-native speakers sound unsure of themselves. Even when they know the grammar correctly, the hesitation makes them sound uncertain.
The instinctive reflex audit is about replacing that checking habit with a gut feeling approach. And it starts with a very simple question you ask yourself after you speak or write something. Did it feel right?
Not, Was it grammatically correct? Not, can I explain why I said it that way? Just, did it feel right? Did it flow? Did it sound like the English you have been absorbing through shadowing and reading and digital immersion?
Because here is what is happening by the time you reach Habit 5. You have been narrating your day with the narrative sportscast. You have been shadowing native rhythms with auditory shadowing cycles. You have been writing and reviewing with AI-assisted narrative journaling. And you have been immersed in real English through your digital environment engineering. Your brain has absorbed an enormous amount of correct, natural English by now, and it knows more than you think it does.
The instinctive reflex audit is the practice of trusting that knowledge. Instead of relying on conscious rule checking, you begin to rely on your linguistic gut. And the way you train that gut is through rapid-fire response drills.
Here's how a rapid-fire response drill works. You give yourself a prompt, a question, a situation, a sentence starter, and you respond immediately. No pausing, no planning, no checking, just respond.
For example, I say, tell me about a time you felt really proud of something, and you, right now, without preparing, just start talking or writing immediately. Go.
The content does not matter. The accuracy does not matter. What matters is the speed, because speed forces your brain to bypass the checking mechanism and go directly to instinct. And your instinct, if you have been doing the other 4 habits, is far more accurate than you realize.
After the rapid-fire response, then, and only then, you do the audit. You look back at what you said or wrote. You notice, where did it flow? Where did it feel clunky? What sounds natural? What sounds a little off? And instead of looking up a rule to explain the off part, you try to feel your way to the correction. Would a native speaker say it that way? How would they say it? And then you adjust.
This is the reflex audit, not a grammar audit, a reflex audit. You are auditing how well your instincts are working and then fine-tuning them.
And here is the thing that excites me most about this habit. Every time you trust your instinct and your instinct is right, you build confidence. And confidence is not just a nice feeling. Confidence actually changes how your brain processes language. Confident speakers make fewer mistakes. They speak more fluently. They recover from errors more quickly. They communicate more effectively. Confidence is a functional skill, not just an emotional one.
Now let us talk about what this looks like in practice day by day. You can do rapid-fire drills on your commute, while you are waiting for something, during a short break at work. You do not need a partner. You do not need an app. You just need a prompt and the willingness to respond without thinking.
Here are some prompts you can use right now. Describe your morning in 60 seconds. Go! What is something you are looking forward to this week? Tell me about a challenge you faced recently and how you handled it. What would you do if you had a completely free day tomorrow?
And don't devaluate yourself harshly. The purpose of the rapid-fire drill is not to perform. It is to practice letting go of self-monitoring. And every time you do it, the gap between thought and speech shrinks a little more.
There is also a social version of this habit that I love. Find a language exchange partner. There are many apps and platforms designed for this in 2026, and agree to have a short conversation with no corrections during the conversation. Just talk. And then after the conversation, you can each share one thing you noticed.
That no correction during rule is crucial because the moment someone interrupts you to correct you, your brain shifts from communication mode to performance mode. And in performance mode, fluency drops. Trust me, fluency lives in communication mode. That is where you want to train.
And here is the celebration piece of Habit 5, which I think is so important. When you have a moment, even a small moment, where the English just came out, where you said something and it was right and it was natural and it was fast and you did not have to think about it, celebrate that. Really. Tell yourself, that was my brain working automatically. That was grammar without rules. That was fluency.
Because those moments are the evidence that everything is working. The narration, the shadowing, the journaling, the immersion, they are all paying off. And each time you celebrate a moment of automatic English, you reinforce the behavior. You tell your brain, do more of this. This is working.
The journey from conscious translation, where you think in your first language and translate to English in your head, to automatic linguistic intuition, where the English just arrives, is not a short journey. But it is a real one. And every learner who has made that journey used habits very much like these 5.
And here is something beautiful about this process. You do not have to do it all at once. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. Show up every day with one habit, then add another, then another. And over weeks and months, these 5 habits will quietly, powerfully rewire the way your brain handles English.
Okay, let us take a moment to bring all 5 habits together and see how they work as a system, because that is what they are, a system. Each habit reinforces the others, and together they create something much more powerful than any single habit on its own.
So here is the picture. You start your day with the narrative sportscast. As you get ready in the morning, you narrate your actions in first-person present tense. I am making coffee. I am opening the window. The air is cool. Grammar becomes physical, instinctive, grounded in your body.
During the day, maybe on your commute or during a break, you do your auditory shadowing cycles. You listen to a short clip of natural English, shadow it, record yourself, compare. Grammar becomes musical, rhythmic. Your ear starts to know what sounds right before your brain can explain why.
In the evening, or whenever you have a quiet moment, you sit down for your AI-assisted narrative journaling. 3 bullet points about micro-wins, expand them into sentences, maybe build them into a short narrative. Review your patterns. Grammar becomes personal, meaningful, connected to your real life.
All day long, in the background, always running, your digital environment engineering is at work. Your phone is in English. Your social feed is curated. You have commented in an English community. Your smart home speaks English back to you. Grammar becomes ambient, woven into the fabric of your daily life.
And periodically, a few times a week, or daily if you can, you do your instinctive reflex audits, rapid-fire responses, trust your gut, celebrate accuracy, notice where the reflex is working and where it needs more training. Grammar becomes automatic, subconscious, yours.
Together, these 5 habits address every mode of language learning. Speaking and listening through the narrative sportscast, listening and sound through auditory shadowing, writing and reflection through narrative journaling, reading and interaction through digital environment engineering, and speaking under pressure through the instinctive reflex audit.
You are not leaving any gap. You are approaching English from all directions, and each direction reinforces the others.
And here is the thing about habit-based learning that is different from study-based learning. Habits do not require motivation to maintain. You do not need to feel inspired to narrate your morning routine. You just do it because it is a habit. You do not need to feel energized to do a shadowing cycle. You do it because it is a habit. And the results compound day after day, week after week, month after month.
Now, I want to be honest with you. These habits will feel strange at first, maybe a little awkward, maybe even a little silly. Talking to yourself in the bathroom, shadowing a podcast host on the subway, writing about your Tuesday in an AI journaling app, these things are not what most people imagine when they think of studying English.
But that is exactly the point. You are not studying English. You are living in English. You are making it part of how you move, how you listen, how you reflect, how you communicate. And that is the path to real fluency.
Not perfection. Fluency. The ability to express yourself in English naturally, comfortably, and automatically. That is what these 5 habits build, together, consistently, over time.
Before we wrap up, we want to answer a few questions that we know are probably sitting in the back of your mind right now.
First question, how long before I see results? And the honest answer is, it depends on how consistently you practice, on your current level, on how much English exposure you already have. But in general, if you commit to even 3 of these 5 habits daily, most learners begin to notice real changes in their fluency within 4 to 6 weeks. Not perfection, but a real noticeable shift in how automatic English begins to feel.
Second question, do I need to do all 5 habits every single day? Ideally, yes, but realistically, start with 2, the narrative sportscast, and 1 other habit of your choice. Build the first 2 into a genuine daily ritual before you add more, because 5 habits done inconsistently will not serve you as well as 2 habits done every single day.
Third question, what if I make a lot of mistakes in the instinctive reflex audit? This is a really common concern. And the answer is, mistakes in this context are data, not failures. If you consistently make the same mistake in rapid-fire drills, that is your brain telling you it needs more exposure to the correct pattern. Go back to habit 2, shadow more content that features that structure. Let your ear recalibrate, and then try the reflex drill again.
Fourth question, can I do these habits if I am a complete beginner? Absolutely. The narrative sportscast works at any level because you are only narrating what you can narrate. Start simple. I am sitting, I am eating, I am writing, and build from there. Auditory shadowing can be done with very simple content. Your journaling bullets can be just 2 or 3 words each at first. Every habit has a beginner version and an advanced version. You meet it where you are.
And fifth question, what should I do if I feel like I am not improving fast enough? This one comes from a place of frustration, and I understand it. Language learning has what researchers call a silent period, a phase where you are absorbing enormous amounts of information, but your output has not yet caught up. It can feel like nothing is happening, but everything is happening. It is just happening beneath the surface. Trust the process. Stay consistent. The breakthrough will come.
And when it does, oh, when it does, it will feel like everything clicked at once, like a light turning on. And you will realize that all those days of narrating your breakfast and shadowing podcasts and journaling your micro wins, all of it was building to that moment.
All right, let us bring it home. Today, you learned 5 daily habits that can automate your English grammar without ever opening a boring textbook.
Habit 1. The narrative sportscast. Narrate your physical movements in real time to link your muscles to grammar structures. Use first-person present tense to anchor patterns naturally.
Habit 2. Auditory shadowing cycles. Mimic the rhythm and musicality of native English using short audio clips. Record yourself. Compare. Calibrate your ear to natural patterns.
Habit 3. AI-assisted narrative journaling. Document your daily micro wins. Expand them into descriptive sentences using AI tools. Review your entries to spot recurring patterns your brain is ready to fix.
Habit 4. Digital environment engineering. Set your devices to English. Curate your social feeds with high-context English content. Replace passive scrolling with active participation in English language communities.
And Habit 5, the instinctive reflex audit. Replace rigid rule checking with a gut-feeling approach to language. Practice rapid-fire response drills. Celebrate every moment of automatic, instinctive English.
These 5 habits together form a complete ecosystem for language learning that fits into your real life. Not a classroom, not a textbook, but your actual everyday world.
And here is the most important thing I want you to take from today. Fluency is not about knowing more rules. Fluency is about making language automatic. And automaticity comes from consistent, meaningful, low-pressure exposure and practice. Exactly what these 5 habits provide.
You already have everything you need to begin. Your phone, your morning routine, your daily micro-wins, your commute, your spare moments. All of it is material. All of it is classroom.
So here is your assignment before tomorrow. Pick one habit from today's video. Just one. Decide when in your day you will practice it. Put it in your calendar or your phone reminders, and do it tomorrow. Not next week, tomorrow.
Because the best time to start a habit is now. And the second best time is first thing tomorrow morning. Do not let this knowledge sit in your head unused. Use it. Start small, but start.
And if you found value in today's lesson, if even one idea gave you a new way of thinking about your English learning, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We are here every week with new lessons designed to help you grow naturally, confidently, and consistently. Your support really does help us reach more learners, and we are so grateful for every single one of you who is part of this community.
Also, don't forget to check out our podcast playlist on this channel. It is full of English listening and speaking practice designed specifically to help you improve the natural way through real conversation, real rhythm, real language. It is one of the best places to start your auditory shadowing practice.
We believe in you. We really do. We know that learning a language is not easy. We know there are hard days and frustrating moments and times when you feel like you are not making progress. But we also know, from experience and from the thousands of learners we have worked with, that consistent habits always win. Always.
So keep going, keep narrating, keep shadowing, keep journaling, keep engineering your environment, keep auditing your reflexes. And one day, sooner than you think, English will stop feeling like something you are learning and start feeling like something you are living.
And that is the goal. That has always been the goal. Not perfect grammar on a test, but real, living, breathing, automatic English in your real life.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. We will see you in the next lesson.
Take care, everyone, and keep going. You have absolutely got this.